Greetings, and thank you for joining us for the 51st episode of DC Animation with Spenser and Friends. This is an LMG Podcast Production. Today, I am joined by a dear friend.
Hi there. This is Ryan. I'm a good friend of Spencer's. Uh, I watch a lot of nerd stuff and enjoy a lot of nerd stuff, so I'm here to talk about nerd stuff.
Excellent. Excellent. I love it. Could you, real quick, just tell the people about not just your DC consumption, but your Ninja Turtles consumption? So, like, do you read the comic books? Do you play video games? Do you just watch all the movies, the TV shows? Like, what are you consuming for both of these things?
Yeah, so I would say, I've definitely not watched everything, but the Turtles have been a part of my life since I was a little kid. Collecting the toys and the original cartoon. And then I'd say probably the most influential Turtles media for me were the three live action movies. So I've
From
probably
the
seen those the
90s?
most of the thing. What's that?
The ones from the 90s?
Yep, the ones from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, those can't be beat. I still watch those regularly. I think most of them hold up pretty well. Um, and and yeah, I've heard some of the newer stuff is great. And honestly, this is going to be one of the newer things that I've actually watched in recent times, and it's kind of inspired me to explore more of the recent stuff because it was much better than I initially expected.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Well, I appreciate you for joining us on this journey through DC animation. Today's film is Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, released March 31st, 2019. I'm going to read a synopsis in my own words, and then we're just going to talk about it. So, we open in Gotham City with Barbara Gordon touring Powers Industrial when ninjas break in to steal a power generator. Those ninjas are dealt with by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Batgirl recounts the events to Batman, unaware of what the turtles are. It is safe to assume that Wayne Enterprises will be hit next, so Batman suits up. Penguin decides he will hit Wayne Enterprises first and sell to the highest bidder. The ninjas do break into Wayne Enterprises only to find Batman, while Penguin's crew gets attacked by the Turtles. Penguin is able to escape, and the Turtles and Batman beat up some ninjas and start to interrogate one of them. Or Batman does that. That ninja ends up getting a shuriken in the head, and Batman finds himself face to face with Shredder. They start throwing good hands, and Shredder comes out with the victory and escapes. The Turtles come across the Batmobile and then face to face with Batman. The Turtles assume that Batman is working with Shredder and they attack him. Batman embarrasses them and they make a strategic retreat. Over at Shredder's hideout, it is revealed that the Foot Clan is working with Mr. Raz Al Ghul and the League of Shadows. Their plan is for Shredder to build a machine that will release the ooze in Gotham, turning its citizens into mutants, causing pure chaos. And in exchange, Shredder will be given access to the Lazarus Pit. Robin was listening in on the meeting. The Turtles are researching Batman, and Batman is researching the Turtles. The Turtles find their way to the Batcave, and they are met by Robin, who immediately attacks them, and then Batman arrives. They realize that they are all on the same side, and Robin reveals that it is Raish working with the Foot Clan. Raish and Shredder go to Arkham to meet with the Joker, and the Turtles and the Bat family whip up some anti-ooze. Joker trades the Joker toxin formula for some ooze. The Bat family and the Turtles are on the move to Arkham, and the Joker releases Batman's villains and uses the ooze to mutate everyone. When they arrive, Harley, as a hyena, welcomes them, and they all split up to find the Arkham employees that are still in there being held hostage. For the first round of boss fights, Mr. Freeze is a polar bear, Bane is a tiger, Scarecrow is a crow, and he places Leonardo under a genjutsu using the fear toxin. Luckily, everyone is able to win their first boss fight, and it's on to the next round. Poison Ivy is comedically useless, and Two-Face is a two-headed cat with two hostages. Then Joker, who is a cobra, appears. Raph jumps the gun to save the hostages, but of course, it's a trap. Batman ends up getting injected with the ooze Joker Venom combo. That mutates him into a bloodthirsty bat, and he immediately kills Two-Face and Mr. Freeze. Luckily, they make an antidote, or luckily they made an antidote, and after a quick scuffle, they are able to get Batman cured. They realize that this was nothing more than a distraction, and the Penguin has stolen the Cloud Seeder and given it to Ra's and Shredder. Back at the Batcave, they figure out the big plan and deduce that Ace Chemical is where they're probably going to go. Batman is pissed and blames his unwanted transformation on the Turtles' recklessness, and he tries to kick them out of Gotham. Raph is able to convince Batman that working together is the best move, and they all head over to Ace Chemical. They are able to fight their way through the henchmen and make it inside where the machine is getting activated. Leonardo defeats Ra's, Michelangelo and Donatello destroy the Cloud Seeder, and Batman defeats Shredder, who ends up falling into the chemical bath. The building explodes, and the heroes celebrate with pizza in the Batcave. After the credits, Shredder rises from the rubble laughing maniacally with a new Joker smile. And that's the movie.
I have so many things. I have so many things.
Good. That's what I want. I want you to have so many things. Before we talk about all of the things, generally speaking, what were your thoughts on the movie?
Uh, I would describe the movie as very silly, but very well executed. Um, it it was fun. Lots of throwbacks, lots of little Easter eggs. I think fans, it felt in a lot of ways made for someone like me who was a big fan of like the games growing up and the 90s movies. So many 90s movies references. And But overall good. Like it was well executed. Like the movie knows what it is. It knows that it's silly. That the concept is, wild, but it's a good example of a well executed fan service movie. I think.
I love that. I had a good time. I have pretty recently caught some Ninja Turtle stuff. I'm not sure why I didn't grow up with the Ninja Turtles because it's something that I feel like I would have enjoyed in my youth. So I don't really have a good reason for not having like an extensive history with the Turtles, but I have seen some of the newer stuff as an adult. I saw the old movies back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't remember them vividly, like they didn't commit to memory or anything. Because I
Mm-hmm.
remember, like, back when I was watching, The Mask and just Space Jam, like it was just kind
Yeah.
of on with those.
Yeah.
And I watched the newer live action one with, I want to say, Megan Fox. She in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Megan
want to.
Fox, I think, was in those. I think I saw the first one. I wasn't super compelled by those.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. I heard mixed things. I heard some people enjoyed them. I think I watched the first one. I'm pretty sure I sat through the first one, and I did not watch the second one.
I have heard that Turtles fans didn't love it, but people who weren't Turtles fans were pretty okay with it.
Yeah.
And I would fall into the not quite a Turtles fan, but the newest Turtles movie, the one that has Ice Cube as the villain, like that one was really good.
So good. So good. Like, give me just force feed me that formula. Like they did the teenage version of the turtles. Like they were
They were
genuinely teenagers.
proper, yeah, they were like 13. Like they were
Yeah.
young teens.
So well done. I think that was Seth Rogen, I
Yep.
think, produced that.
Yes. And
Um,
honestly, like the stuff he does is really good.
yeah.
And I will say I was nervous when they said he's doing a children's film. I was like, "Oh, let's see what happens there." But it was really good. So I've only recently gotten into, Turtles things. And so I'm not able to speak to any of the callbacks or references or Easter eggs, and I'm not able to really speak to if this was a good or bad characterization of the turtles themselves.
I think it was uh, a pretty good characterization of the turtles. Like I mean, it was pretty straightforward, like turtles. They made a point to kind of highlight, each turtles thing, and the throwbacks were really highlights of like the different turtles personalities too. Um, like uh, I don't know where to start. Like there's a ton of throwbacks to talk about. There's also like kind of the maturity level of the film kind of goes back and forth. Um,
Yes,
Surprising like blood,
there was some blood. And
murder,
again, Batman killed Mr. Freeze, and like they're dead.
right? Like that was one of the top things I wanted to talk about was like, did he kill Freeze? It sounded like he murdered the hell out of Freeze.
Yeah, it does. That's what I saw.
But Batman's not the only one. I mean, the first murder is brutal with Shredder
Yeah,
and
the
the
shuriken in the
Ninja
head.
Star. Yeah,
Yeah.
straight to the head. When that happened, I was like, whoa, okay, this movie's serious.
I
Uh,
also wasn't ready, but I was like, but it's Shredder. I should have known.
yeah. Uh,
But
yeah, it sets the tone that like there's gonna be, this is a silly concept, but the movie's gonna be, serious in some ways. Um, but that is the surprisingly the least brutal death in this movie.
you're right. That one was pretty tame.
I think that the most brutal death is, I mean, I assume he's dead, but there's a scene where when they're racing, the Batmobile and the turtle van are racing through like the storage containers, and Donnie gets on the pizza shooter slash manhole cover shooter, and he just starts blasting people, right? He's blasting the mutants.
Yep.
But there's a Foot Clan member in like a crane or something, and Donnie just
Yes,
blows it away, like disintegrates it. That dude's dead.
he's dead. Yep.
Like turned to mush.
Yeah. Yeah, there were definitely some deaths in this movie.
Uh,
And again, I wasn't expecting that, but I'm here for it.
while we're on the deaths, like let's just go through some of the brutality in this. Like uh another death. So I ended up watching this second time. I liked it so much.
Yep.
Um and I noticed this second run around, um like uh Batgirl, I'm pretty sure kills that elephant mutant by blowing him up with like four containers of whatever. It's
I
just
think you're right.
huge explosion. So that dude's dead.
Dead.
She kills that dude. Um, oh, Ra's al Ghul and Shredder, when they're going into the facility, decapitation. They just decapitate that guard.
Yeah.
Um, just
Wasn't ready
casually,
for that. I wasn't ready to
casually.
just see his head on the ground because whenever Raish walked in and the guard was like, "Stop, stop," and I knew Raish was gonna kill him, but I didn't think we were gonna like see his head and body separated.
this this like the first thing I thought when I started this movie was it feels very Batman the animated series. Like they were capturing that like really well. But once it gets going, like in Batman the animated series, Raj Al Ghul would have like just knocked that dude out, right?
Yes,
But no, in this movie, that dude gets decapitated,
he's very dead.
and then
And
not
he
only
he could
that,
have just been stabbed, but no, his head was separated from his body.
and it rolls into frame,
Yep. So we see it.
and then somewhere along the lines, after as he's killing these guards, he cuts off one of their hands to use to open up the cell block
Mm-hmm.
and just tosses it casually. They make a point to show him just casually toss it to the side. Um, they really leaned into some brutality, which I think is pretty cool because I have not read the Turtles comics, but from what I understand, they are fairly bloody.
Okay. That is also my understanding.
The
And
originals.
this movie made sense to me because like the League of Shadows and the Foot Clan getting to get like that makes sense. That tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So I I liked it more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on the voice cast?
Um, so I didn't know a lot of them, but I do know Troy Baker, and
Mhm.
I'm very impressed with Troy Baker. Uh, that guy is just honestly incredible. His Batman was great, and his Joker was great. Um,
He's probably um like I don't want to lock this in, but he might be like my second option for Joker. Like if I can't get a Mark Hamill,
yeah,
Troy Baker does a really good job.
so good, and his Batman was great too.
I didn't
Um,
love him as Batman, but
no,
I'm really picky about
okay,
Batman. So don't even don't worry about that. Like it takes a while for me to get used to a Batman that's not Kevin.
yeah, so
So
sad.
that's honestly nothing against Troy,
It's
but
it, yeah. Kevin was just Batman for so long.
yes.
Um, yeah, I wasn't super familiar with the others. I liked everyone though. Like I wasn't familiar with their other work, but I liked everyone. The Turtles did a good job. They all sounded, what I would expect the Turtles to sound like for the most part. I like the person who did Batgirl. Robin was good. It's fine.
Okay.
Pretty
And
much
then
everyone.
generally speaking, do you have a favorite turtle? Like just in life?
Mikey,
Okay.
he's the party dude.
That's yeah. And I don't know if these are like the archetypes of the turtles, but just from the turtles things I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
Donatello's the smart one, Leonardo is the reluctant leader, Raph is
Mm-hmm.
angry, and Mikey's here for a good time.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we open with Barbara Gordon touring Powers Industrial. And did you watch Batman Beyond?
I did. Long time ago. But yeah, I did watch some Batman Beyond.
Well, the main villain of the first season, I don't know if he goes beyond the first season, but Blight, um, I think that guy's name is Jordan Powers, and so I think he is Powers Industrial.
Oh, I was wondering what that
Yes.
was.
So yeah, I think he's a a Gotham person.
Okay.
And so we just see like Barbara's touring and then ninjas show up. And it's like, oh dear, what are we gonna do? So the ninjas are then like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. We know that's who they are, but like everybody else is like, what is happening? Like everybody's confused. Nobody that's there has any idea what's going on. And so the turtles are able to deal with them. And then she's telling Batman like there were these big mutant things. I don't know what they were, but they were trying to steal some stuff. Like everything's unclear. And Batman is like, oh, well, if these ninjas are just hitting, tech companies, I know that mine is next. So let me just go ahead and set up for that. And so whenever they get there, it's just Batman alone because he's like, I gave everybody the night off. So
Yeah.
y'all can deal with me. And Batman is, just putting a pause on these ninjas, which we expect. And then
Right.
outside, we see Penguin trying to get in on the action. Penguin is like, Penguin also clocks what's going on. And he's like, I will hit it first and then profit from it. So Penguin is just playing the game quietly in the background,
Right.
just wheeling and dealing. And because he's outside, the turtles come across him. And Penguin in this, he had a colorful umbrella, which was different. I don't think I've ever seen him with a colorful umbrella like that. Like usually it's just black, but it's still got like the gun and all of the knife and all the things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, it was different. It didn't make a lot of sense, but I didn't hate it. But I didn't just like love it. But I like Penguin's like I like how he was used in this moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so yeah, like they're Batman again, when he attempts to interrogate one of the ninjas, and then that ninja just gets popped with a shuriken immediately, I was like, oh, Shredder don't play no games. Like, there will be no talking. And that's the thing. I'm sure that ninja wasn't gonna say anything, but Shredder was like, no, we're
He's
not
not
risking it.
taking chances.
And that's all I need. I was like, I need that's what I needed to know who I was dealing with because I've heard of Shredder, I've seen Shredder in things, but like that's where I was like, okay, that's the kind of minutes that Shredder's on.
It's a great way to set the tone for a character. Like that's
Agreed.
literally the first thing you see of Shredder, right?
Yes, that's
That's
when like Shuriken, Batman turns around, it's Shredder in the window. I was
that's
like,
the intro.
yep, that's fire. And they have like a proper one-on-one, hand-to-hand, and both of them are like, oh, this shit is not easy. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're
It's
both
a
like
brutal fight.
yeah, like you kind of good, and they are hurting each other, and
And
they're pretty evenly matched.
I love that about this movie. It honestly, there's a couple of fights like this one that are just, it's just a good, solid one-on-one fight. It's well choreographed and it's brutal.
Yes, yes, it is. Um, and there was a point where Batman started to think about winning a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Batman gets the high ground, you think, oh, Batman's got the advantage. Nope.
Yeah, but
Shredder. Oh, go ahead.
for a moment, I it really felt like Batman was in control, but
Yes.
Shredder Shredder turns it around. I feel like Batman's power level in this movie was well represented. He could handle pretty much anything, but he wasn't, you know, indestructible.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I like when we see is like Batman, them letting us know Batman at the end of the day is a human man. I will say that did not feel represented to me when he embarrassed the turtles because whenever he fought the turtles, I was like, he should still be a lot more hurt from what Shredder did to him
Right. And he
to
even
be,
references that later.
yeah, whenever, yeah, because whenever he and Raph were sparring, I'm sorry, when he and Leonardo were sparring, Batman was like, where was this when we fought?
Right.
And Batman mentioned, like, P.S., I was still hurt from whatever Shredder did to me. And again, Batman embarrassed those boys. Like, I
Yeah.
would not have believed. I mean, of course, Batman is very good, but I wouldn't have believed that the Turtles have a level of skill that allow them to handle really any problem with the way Batman embarrassed them. And Batman was on fumes because Shredder almost put a hole in his chest.
I think the best way that I was kind of imagining the reason why that fight went the way it did was the an experience gap. Batman has, this is an older Batman. We know that because
That's Damien.
Damien.
Was it? I'm pretty sure it was Damien. Yeah, it was Damien. So yeah, we it's an older Batman because Damien was Robin. Like had it been
Yes.
um
Yes.
like had it been Dick or
Because
Jason, that's even
Roz references the Robin that was killed.
mhm,
And I can't, I can't remember which Robin that was. I'm not super
Jason.
versed on that. That was Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he mentions that. So we know this Batman's been around. So the best, the way I was thinking about that fight was, yeah, like physically, Batman is, not quite like at top of his game, but his experience level is so much higher than 4 teenagers.
That's true. Okay.
That's kind of
And
how I was explaining that in my head.
and that's a good point to make. So yeah, I think you're right. That makes sense. Because again, I was just thinking like this was a skill issue, but it wasn't. It was an experience issue. I think you're right there. So, yeah, they fight, and I mean, and of course, when the turtles see the Batmobile, they're like, "That might be the coolest thing I've ever seen." Like, they're geeking out a little bit because they're teenagers, and I was like, "That feels appropriate."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun that they do that because, they kind of, the movie kind of felt like like a trying to think of the right word. Like it was praising what made these two things fun. Um,
Yes.
like to rewind a little bit, going back to when the turtles fight the penguin on the rooftop. At the end of that fight, I love the quote. Mikey, I think, says it. And he's like, "Gotham is bonkers, yo," and it is like Gotham is like crazy.
Yep.
And you get to see that too with the villains. You get to see so many villains in this movie, so many Batman villains, and they're all just ridiculous. Um,
And
and,
because yeah, one of the things that I think it was Mikey who said it at some point. He was like, "Gotham City and New York are pretty much the same," and he was like, "Yeah, Gotham got mad blimps." I was
yeah.
like, "Yes, that's hilarious
And then the
because
throwback to the blimps later,
uh-huh, because that's how I know we're in Gotham. If I don't see a blimp, it's not Gotham."
right?
And
And
they turned it up because usually there's like a couple blimps, but there were so many blimps.
lots of blimps.
So yeah, I'm glad that they did that. But yeah, I loved a lot of what Mikey was talking about in this movie. Like he was just pointing out the things. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, he really was.
So Shredder goes back to the hideout, and we see that the Foot Clan is working with Raish and the League of Shadows. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. And they, tell us what the plan is so that we know what the plan is. And Shredder is going to build a machine with the ooze so that it can just create chaos, which is a very Raish thing to do. Um, one of my one of the stories that I really enjoy that Raish is in is the Tower of Babel. And in that story, Raish essentially wants to confuse the language of everyone so that they can't read, so that they can't communicate, so that it will create chaos and it will just be a mess. And so he can, use that chaos to take control of the situation. So this was a very Raish thing to do. And
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
yeah. I feel like they captured everyone well. Every character really felt like what that character has been over the years. I don't think they did anybody dirty in this movie. And it seems like the kind of movie where they would.
Yes, I agree. I think that in the Arkham, there were a couple of people that got done dirty, but that's okay. But yeah, we'll talk about
Oh,
it when we get there. But yeah,
okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then again, not in a bad way, but in a very comedic way. Like they were just kind of used for comedy, which
Yeah,
isn't a problem.
that's true.
And so, in your experience with Shredder, does he in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like is immortality something he's looking for like separately? Like is immortality something he wants, or was that kind of unique to this movie because that's, a bargaining chip that he can use for this?
That's a good question. I'm kind of going back and I'm trying to think.
Like I
And
guess what was Shredder's goal? Like what was Shredder trying to do? What I mean, and of course, there may be some different answer for every like thing, but like, why is Shredder doing things?
it's a really good question. I'm like thinking back on like the original 90s movies, like what was Shredder doing? He's starting like a whole clan of, underground criminal activity. He's recruiting all the kids and he's really into getting the turtles once he finds out about them. And he's really into getting Splinter.
Because he and Splinter have history, right?
They have history. I can't remember if he knows who Splinter is right off the bat. I think he's like, oh, what is this abomination? But then he sees the ear. I think that he chopped part of Splinter's ear off, and Splinter scratched his eye, and they like realize who they are. I'm seeing these scenes in my head, and it's hard to remember really what Shredder's pure motivation was. Um, just a good excuse to go back and watch at least the first one. That first one holds up so well still.
Okay.
But I don't know if I recall like a specific storyline where um his goal is immortality per se. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Because that feels like a very Shredder thing to want, but I didn't know if it made sense in the context of Ninja Turtles, but it does make sense when you involve the Lazarus Pit. So that's why I was wondering, like, if immortality was ever something he aimed for, or if it was even a possibility in the Turtles universe.
Totally a possibility in the Turtles universe. Turtles universe is wild. Um,
I mean,
I,
there are four giant Ninja Turtles, so yeah, like
and the villains are all crazy, and there's space aliens and robots. It's all over the place. It's maybe why these two worlds kind of mesh well together. Batman and Ninja Turtles, it works surprisingly.
oh yeah. And I knew it would work because I'm pretty sure Leonardo is in the Injustice game.
Yeah, I think
And
you can play as all the turtles in the Injustice game.
oh, okay. Cool. So and yeah, like yep, that tracks. That makes sense. They fit into this world based on the little bit of them that I've seen.
It works for me for sure. It works. It feels right.
It feels right. Yeah. So Robin is, listening in on the meeting where they're having this discussion, and then everybody's doing research on everybody else. And I love the fact that the turtles were just able to find the Batcave.
Yes, and this is probably my most stretch of a reference, but I feel like it's a possibility that the shot when they're swimming to the Batcave, that it's a reference to the original NES Turtles game. There's an underwater level that gave like everybody of my generation who played that game PTSD because it was so hard. But something about that, I was like, I swear that's a reference to that game and that infamous level. But that's easily the biggest stretch out of all of the references I believe I saw. I'm not sure, but I like to believe that they put that in there as an Easter egg. But it was also, yeah, it was funny that the turtles just find the cave.
Very easy. Like Donatello was like, it's probably right here based on these things.
Yeah.
And because it was funny, it looked like he was like, I don't know, it looked like he was on like Wikipedia for a minute and just like looking up Batman. And then yeah, he said based on where Batman, like where stuff happens, where Batman is sighted, where he goes, like this is probably where he'll be. And I think that the only reason they were able to get there with ease is because they are turtles, because a human would not have been able to make the swim that got them there.
No, and no one would be swimming there, realistically.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I think that that was that's why because the turtles are very used to the sewers, and so yeah, like that whole concept it was made for them to find.
yeah, yeah. I guess you could say that's one of the things in the movie that's a little bit of an odd stretch, but they have to make it happen. And it's like, well, Donnie's smart. I assume he's the one who puts this together. I think he's the one who was
Yes.
talking about it. Maybe he has a computer in the van. All this happens off screen. I doubt he's doing this on his like flip phone, his shell flip phone that he pulls out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they were in the sewers in like a little base doing stuff. And I yeah, like I don't know if they were doing it from the van. I assume they weren't because I don't think we saw the van yet. So
No,
yeah, I
we
think they
don't
were
we
just
don't see the van until later.
Yeah, so I think they were just in the sewers on like computers doing stuff, and then yeah, like they arrive in the Batcave and they just start, again geeking out because of all this cool stuff. Donnie sees that computer and he's like, I have to use that thing.
And that's another good example of them highlighting the cool things from both of these universes. The turtles throughout the show really just they directly reference the cool stuff about Batman just out
Yes.
loud.
And I love that because they're teenagers and that's exactly how that would go.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just it makes sense. It fits. And I love it. So yeah, they had like genuine reactions. And I could appreciate that because this is all new to them. Like that they've never seen this before.
Right.
So yeah. And then, Robin is about that action. Like there have been a couple movies where like somebody breaks in somewhere and Robin immediately just goes. Like Robin, yeah, like he sees intruders and he starts throwing shit immediately. And I love that Robin is about that action, but you know, they fight a little and they're like, "Hey, little guy, you wanna chill out?"
And they're like, he's so cute.
Yeah, which again is hilarious because it's only pissing Damien off.
Yeah. How young is he? How young is this Robin?
He's I would imagine between 10 and 12. I'm not
Wow.
100% sure because Damien is one of those like very mature for his age, but also still very much a child.
Yeah.
So, because he was raised by Raish and Talia, so at a very young age, he was very capable.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. And then Talia ends up being like, "Hey, Bruce, I need you to raise your son after like because Bruce did not know about Damien.
Oh, so he's actually his
Yeah,
son.
he's his biological. Now, of course, Talia drugged Batman
Oh,
to
cool.
have him,
That's
so it was
cool.
rape. Like
that's
that,
that's chill.
yeah. I mean, it was a he got roofied, and then yeah, because Raish wants Batman to succeed him as the Demon's Head, and Batman keeps refusing because like no, I'm not gonna be an evil assassin head. Like I'm not doing that. And
Huh.
so Raish was like, "Oh, okay. If you won't come to me as a hero, then I'll have to come to you as a man." And so yeah, he sends his beautiful daughter, and that's how that happens.
Interesting. Huh. I was wondering because Robin references he's at some point he like calls him dad or my dad, my father, or something like that.
Yeah, like
And I was like, that's
yeah.
kind of weird.
So
But
yeah,
he
Bruce
actually
is his
okay.
father, and then Raish is his grandfather.
Okay, interesting. So the whole
So
family's there.
oh yeah, everybody's there. Yeah. So they realize like, oh, we're fighting on the same side because initially they're like, you're working with Shredder, and it's like, well, no, I'm not. I don't know who that is. Like what? So luckily they're able to have a conversation and figure that out. And then Robin is like, oh, well, since we're all on the same side, I guess I can tell you exactly what's going on. I don't know why we hadn't already talked about this. Robin, you should have reported that immediately,
Right.
or whatever. So while they're, getting acquainted and all that, Raish and Shredder go over to Arkham, and that's where we see they're just putting those guards down. Like the Arkham
Yeah,
guards don't deserve what's happening to
those
them.
poor guards. That's got to be the worst job in Gotham.
Oh, they have to be compensated very well, and they have to have like their life insurance policies, and like all that has to be just stupid.
Therapy.
Yes, the mental health, like all of it. Like they have to be very well compensated as far as the insurances that are provided and just money.
Right. It makes me think of the Batman Arkham games. Like so much of that game is just saving Arkham workers.
Yeah. I'm sure. And that's the thing, like, like, being a guard is one thing, but being like a custodian or a doctor or like one of those people, like more of the support staff that doesn't have a weapon, absolutely not.
You'd think everyone working there would just have to be packing,
Agreed. Everyone.
especially since there's been how many breakouts from this
Yes.
supposed, state of the art prison.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes Arkham is a high security prison, sometimes it's more mental hospital. And
Yeah.
so it kind of depends because often Blackgate is like the prison. Like Blackgate is a prison every time.
Mm.
And Bel Rev is a prison every time. But Arkham, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've never thought of that, but that's totally true.
But and I don't know if sometimes it's a situation where they separate the supernatural and the not like in the humans. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It changes so often, and they're all used, and so it's hard to know what's for what and what's being used in any certain situation. But yeah, in this case, Arkham was treated more as high security prison for supernatural folk, and the Joker had his own cell in the back,
Yep.
and he was like in a straitjacket or whatever, like he was locked down. And I'm like, yes, that's how you treat him.
Yep. That's how you do it.
Because a lot of the other villains that were in there, they were in a cell, but they were like free to walk around in that cell. But the Joker
Right.
was strapped to that back wall because they're like, and yeah, he was very much in like the master cell, if you will.
Yeah.
Which he's the Joker, so I get it.
Yeah.
But
He's caused a lot of ruckus.
yeah, and they are there to make a deal. So he gives them the formula to the Joker toxin, which I'm surprised that he has written down, but that's fine because it was like an actual like chemical uh like it was written out chemically. I was like, oh, all right. You got to have that in order for it to make sense. So yeah, because I would think, oh, he just gives them a little bit of the Joker venom and then they deconstruct it. And but no, he had like the formula.
Yeah, I feel like the Joker is that kind of guy though. He's secret, super,
Yep,
super smart.
that's true.
Yeah. I'm not too surprised by that, I guess, but funny in its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess they didn't need Scarecrow's fear toxin because that would also create a pretty good amount of mass hysteria.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Maybe they didn't want to do copy the Nolan movie too hard.
yeah. And I mean, I guess they didn't want Scarecrow to get that many minutes. Like he wasn't important enough to need to do that. We got a moment where it was used, so I think they were like, we're good with that.
Yeah.
So I think narratively it could have been interesting, but I think as far as like the runtime and like what needed to be covered, it made sense not to do it.
Yeah. And it lets them do the Batman.
Yes, exactly. That also happens. Um, so the Joker gives them the formula and he wants some ooze. So and I assume the ooze is very important in Turtles lore. Like the ooze is just like the thing.
Yeah, ooze is heavily involved. It's how the turtles were created. It gets used to create other creatures along the way. Um, One thing about this ooze, though, and I don't know if in some of the more modern turtle shows and movies, the ooze works differently, but I was kind of surprised when Shredder and Ra's al Ghul are like doing the exchange and they do the demonstration and just injects that dude right in the
That
neck.
Foot Clan guy. Yeah.
He turns into a wolf. And like in my mind, I'm like, oh, did he have like his dog hair on his pants? Like, why did he turn into a wolf? because I mean the turtles were turtles and they get mutated into turtle people.
Okay.
And like in Turtles 2, the live action movie, uh Shredder has the scientists help him create mutants of his own to fight the turtles. I can't remember their names.
That's how we get Rhinox and God, the other one. Like I've seen some of those
Yeah. And then that's just mutating like a turtle or a wolf into a
into a
bigger.
humanoid version of.
Exactly. So I was this was like the one thing of the movie that just felt extra ridiculous. I mean, it's all ridiculous, but this felt extra ridiculous. I'm like, why are they turning into animals? I think they might have just taken some liberties there to have some fun. The ooze in this mashup universe is in some way animal linked just naturally. I'm not sure. Maybe that's something they've been doing, but I don't think
Rocksteady, that's his name. I'm sorry.
Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yes. They
Yeah,
that they are who I was thinking of. But so yes, I think so normally whenever somebody gets like whenever they get oozed, it's not people getting oozed, it's animals getting oozed and turning into humanoid versions rather than like so what happened to the turtles is normally how the ooze works rather
yeah,
than turning people into random animals.
right. That's why, like, the first thing I thought was, did this dude have some dog hair on his pants?
Okay.
And uh, it just that was definitely the biggest stretch for me in the movie. Like, why is this working this way? But you know, that's just what they went with, and they stuck to it. It was consistent from the start, and it let them do
Yeah.
some silly things. So
That is good to know
I'm
because
not
I did
mad
kind of
about
wonder
it.
that. And yeah, I think it was yeah, like it let them have fun with it.
Yeah,
And
which
it
is kind
gave
of the point of this movie, really.
yeah, like it gave us a reason to have the characters that we recognize be in a situation where, they are animals.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
an interesting way to do it. It was an interesting way to do it.
Okay. Knowing that, I agree. Like that was an interesting way to do that. But
I
it
could see some people not liking it though, for sure.
I would imagine that true Turtles fans would have an issue. So, okay. Cool. One of the things that I meant to mention, the fly man,
Yes.
he sounded like Jeff Goldblum to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was on
100%.
purpose, but yeah, like
100%.
I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. So that I'm almost positive is a reference to Jeff Goldblum's The Fly.
Yes. Yes, it is.
You know,
I can't believe you had to say that to me for me to understand that that's what was happening. And I can't, how did I not know that? Like that's obviously what that was.
yeah, I haven't seen The Fly since I was a kid, I think. But yeah, that had to have been a reference to whatever that character's name was in The Fly. It definitely the dude they got to play him was doing a Jeff Goldblum impression.
Yes, that's exactly what was happening. And it was really good. Like
Yeah,
the fact that I was like, oh, that's Jeff Goldblum. I was like,
right.
yeah, like he was doing his best Jeff Goldblum. But staying in character as far as like being a scientist who's, being held captive. He was very clear, like, I don't want to be here.
Right.
Like, I am a hostage. So don't get that confused.
Yeah.
But um yeah, they go to the Joker, get the Joker tax on, and meanwhile, the Bat family and the Turtles have come up with an anti-ooze. And Barbara just doesn't like the word ooze. And that is also funny to me. She's like, I'm not calling it that.
I really liked the person who played her. her delivery I felt was really good throughout the whole movie.
Okay. Um, the girl who played her, I think the only thing I've seen her in is I want to say she was in the show. It's a show on Netflix. Reboot. I want to say she was in Reboot. But that's
Reboot?
the yes. It's a show on Netflix about a show that was like 20 years old that gets rebooted and like the, behind the scenes of rebuilding that show. Like her
So
dad, I think
not
was
not the 90s 3D
no, not that.
called Reboot.
I remember that too. Oh God. That I remember that being so bad.
Looking back at it, it looks horrific, but I remember
Yeah.
loving it.
I mean, yeah, like at the time it was, super innovative. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this was pulled off. I mean, it ain't Toy Story, but like it's still, but yeah, now, yeah. I think that I want to say that the villain in that show really bothered me. If I'm thinking of the right show, there was a villain called Hexadecimal.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I didn't like that bitch. I really like she bothered me. She made me uncomfortable.
I'm having a hard time remembering, but that sounds right. So
Yeah.
long ago. So
Yeah, it
long
was
ago.
such a long time ago. But yeah, I remember her and I was like, nope, I don't like her. But
I
anyway,
was yeah, I was trying to find that a while back, and I think I couldn't find it streaming anywhere, but I found clips on YouTube and I was like, oh God.
yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, sorry, sidebar. They the Bat Family and the Turtles are like, all right, we need to go to Arkham. And we see the Joker use the ooze that he was given to infect the villains. And I'm guessing that they just knew how to only infect them because I was kind of thinking, why weren't any of the hostages or the people, like the other people in Arkham, like why weren't they affected at all? But I'm guessing they knew exactly where to put the ooze, which fit perfectly in the water
Perfect,
supply or whatever.
right.
Or
Perfect fit.
yeah, everything just worked out. And the movie's gotta happen.
That's how you keep the movie flowing.
Yeah. So, whatever, that's fine.
Shit just
Um,
works.
so he turned everybody into ooze mutants, which we kind of saw coming. So they are like, hey, we need to go to Arkham, and when they arrive, Harley is a hyena, which makes sense because she has pet hyenas that she will often, I think she has two of them that she'll
Yep.
use.
Yep.
Um, so what everybody turned into, kind of made sense. So Harley's a hyena, and the way that they animated her was hilarious to me. Like, I don't know why, but she was just so funny looking to me, and I really enjoyed it. Um, Mr. Freeze is a polar bear, which he also had polar bear hench, or he had hench bears. Earlier in the series, we review Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero, and in that movie, he has hench polar bears, and those polar bears are A, they're clutch, and B, they're a problem because they're polar bears. So yeah, him being a polar bear makes perfect sense,
Hmm.
and luckily he doesn't need his suit anymore. Uh, Bane turns into a tiger, which I don't know if there was any reason for that. I think he was just a tiger.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I honestly wasn't sure what he was. I was like, is he a cheetah? But tiger probably makes more sense.
Yeah, and the only thing that I could think of is there was a show on Nickelodeon, since this was a Nickelodeon production,
Mhm.
called El Tigre, and it was about a little kid named Manny who had like he was like a tiger superhero, but I think also maybe a luchador.
Okay.
And because Bane wears a luchador mask, even though he's massive and luchadors are typically smaller people, um, that was the connection that I thought about. but I don't know if that was involved one bit. That's one of those like stretches that I doubt was a thing, but
But maybe.
that's what I thought of was El Tigre and Bane being dressed like a wrestler and yeah, all that.
I feel like the whole movie is filled with little tiny things like this. So you might be right.
Yeah, the fact that they did the Fly and Jeff Goldblum, yeah,
Yeah.
that could be exactly what that was because it's Nickelodeon. And if it wasn't Nickelodeon, then that would be very wrong. But since it's
Right.
Nickelodeon, maybe.
Maybe. I think there's a
And
good
then
chance.
and then Scarecrow is a crow. That tracks.
Right.
Like he is a very scary crow. And the reason, are you familiar with Naruto at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the reason I use the Genjutsu reference is because Itachi, who uses Genjutsu, turns into crows within the Genjutsu.
That's
S-
true.
So yeah, like
Oh.
that's what the fear toxin did to him. And luckily Batman had some antidote for that because he had to kind of talk him through like, hey, what you're saying is not real. It's, you know, fear toxin, so, try to listen to the sound of my voice, keep it together. And then Scarecrow
Mhm.
just in his ear, really trying to get to him. So everybody wins their boss fight. And then they see Poison Ivy, and Poison Ivy is talking big shit. Like Poison Ivy's really about to do something. And then they find that Poison Ivy's just rooted to the ground.
And just stroll away.
Yeah, and there's like we're just gonna stay along this wall, which I guess um the mutate just turns them into something that makes sense for them as opposed to actual animals. Because like her being turned into a tree didn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. I think they're like, this is fun. This is what's fun. Maybe, maybe we can explain it like the first guy who got turned really liked dogs. And now everybody thought that the ooze turns you into animals. So everyone's thinking about an animal and that's what they turn into. She thinks about plants, so she turns into a plant. That's how I'm going to explain it.
Okay, yeah, I guess
I guess.
like this is the best we can do.
I think that's the best we can probably do, but it's probably just we have an idea and we want to do this, and this is what's funny and fun. So we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it, and cool. It worked because again, I thought it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that could have easily been corny or like poorly done, but I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And we see that Two-Face is a two-headed cat thing.
So I was wondering, was he a cat and a dog, or was he two cats?
I saw two cats, but also I don't know that for sure. I just know that both of his personalities had heads.
Yeah.
And and then we see that Joker is a cobra. And when uh I don't know if this happened yet, but like Joker's like monologuing and Harley just like pops up in the background with her like little weird smile. That shit was hilarious to me. And then whenever she and the Joker start like making out, everybody's like gross.
So weird, but
But but
it
again,
all it worked. It worked.
it was really funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to rewind it because yeah, like whatever that little pop-up she did, it was so funny to me. And I don't really know why. I think it was because again, like her weird smiling face. It was funny.
It really leaned into her a lot with that.
Yes, and I'm glad. So, yeah, he appears and Raphael is like, there are two hostages, we need to save them. And Batman is like, don't do that. The Joker's always got a trap. He's like, well, yep, it's a trap. Of course it's a trap. So, Batman, like through the trap, Batman ends up getting in a situation where they inject him with the Joker ooze combo,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns Batman into Man-Bat. And again, he immediately kills Freeze and Two-Face.
I didn't even think about him killing Two-Face, but I guess he does, huh? He just yeets him out the window.
Yep.
And I don't think he, Two-Face is pretty human. I mean, I guess he's now mutated. Maybe he survived, but
And maybe cats always land on their feet.
and if he's two cats, twice the chance to
Yeah,
always land
he's got 18 lives.
on. But Freeze, you
Dead.
hear him die.
Yeah, dead.
Those are dying noises, dead noises.
Yeah, he's done. And this is a bloodthirst. Like, this is a Batman who is not Batman. Like, he's not himself. He is mindless. And to have a mindless man bat, that's terrifying. And they found that out real quick.
Yeah, it got real fast.
Yeah. And luckily, they had some antidote on them, like the one that they made. And Barbara was like, it's not tested. And they were like, we have to, there's no other, like, we've got to do it.
Yep.
And I think it took them a little bit longer than it should have to hit him with it. Like, I feel like there was an opportunity to just like hit him with it, and they just didn't. And they kept like waiting for the perfect moment to kind of prolong the fight.
Yeah.
But there was a point where it's like, no, you should have hit him already. Why are you standing on him not doing it? But they
Yeah,
got it.
that fight did feel pretty long, to be honest.
Yeah, and long for no real reason.
And
I
it
think
almost made that feel like a climax to the movie before we get the climax in a weird way.
a little bit. I would agree. So, um, and then eventually, oh, also the Joker turning into a snake makes sense because, venom and poison and
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, all that.
Yeah.
But they're able to win the day, and then they're like, "Oh shit, this was just a distraction." And then we see that Penguin has stolen the Cloud Seeder that they were trying to get, and we know that this was the plan all along. So now that they have Cloud Seeder, Ray starts kind of talking that shit to Shredder, like, "What do I even need you for? Why are you here if you can't get things done?" And I'm like,
Back
"Oh,
and
oh,
forth a lot.
yeah, their relationship's falling apart. Are the clans gonna go against each other? Like, what's gonna happen there?"
Right.
But Shredder still gotta play nice because he wants access to the Lazarus Pit.
Yep.
And, Raish thinks that he's the baddest man on Earth, so, Shredder's got to kind of deal with that level of ego. But uh back at the Batcave, they figured out that that's the plan, and they're like, okay, it's gonna go down at Ace Chemical because that's where the Joker was made, and that's where all of the chemicals and toxins are. So that's probably where they're gonna have to go and make this thing happen. And Batman is like, Bat family, we're gonna roll out. Turtles, you can go. Get out of my city. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, we have a job to do. Like, we're working. And then Batman's like, no, you are reckless. You don't listen to instructions. You are the reason I was turned into that thing. I didn't like that one bit. So no, y'all got to go home.
Pretty
And
harsh.
Rat and Wrath of all people is like, hey, listen, this whole like thing you're doing, I'm all about it. But you need us, so let's make this thing happen. And gonna be honest, I think that it went with the movie for Batman to just be like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it worked.
And
It
yeah,
did
like
work.
again, it because I don't think it fit Batman's character, but again, it fit in this movie for him to just be like, yeah,
He does a lot of coming around towards the end. And
yes.
it was fun. They kind of show you a little bit of a more fun Batman, which I don't think is I think we see that sometimes occasionally, but
Mhm.
not often.
Yes, that is true. We see it very occasionally, but not often. And yeah, like because it's not you'll see it like maybe once in a film here and there. And then whenever you watch the shows, it'll be kind of sprinkled in depending on what the circumstances are, but like it's sporadic.
Yeah. I think the animated series you see a couple of moments I feel where Bruce is lighthearted, but for
Yeah.
the most part, like, can we even think of a single scene in any of the Nolan Batmans that's
Yeah,
lighthearted?
I feel like the in-person Batmans don't really do lighthearted.
No, not.
But and we see it in animation here and there. Again, like one of the moments that I think about is whenever in Justice League War, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern and Batman meet for the first time.
uh,
And Hal is trying to figure out what Batman's deal is. Like, okay, you have super strength. Nope. You can fly in a jet plane. Uh, are you telling me you're just a guy in a bat suit? And then he just smirks at him.
yeah, the smirk.
Yeah, and I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, we do get a smirk here and there, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Subtle things.
Yeah, just little things. But yeah,
He's human.
normally he's doing this. He's like, you're
Yeah,
untrained, you're unqualified. Yeah, like just, berating. Eh,
especially that Batman who's, lost partners, all that. He's
yeah,
not playing around.
yeah, he's dealt with teens before.
Hmm.
And, these are again, they act like they don't take anything seriously. Like they are very like personality wise, they're definitely not Batman's cup of tea.
Yeah,
Like Damian is very disciplined and Batman had to work through some of the like rough edges, but Batman kind of wants a good soldier, and that's not what the Turtles are.
yeah. He,
So,
he needs someone who's gonna. He wants to be in charge. He's the bat.
yeah, and he's used to the teenagers doing what he says when he says it because again, like all of other than maybe Jason, like the Robin, and again, he had to work through some shit with Damien, but like Dick was pretty obedient. Um, Barbara usually follows the rules. Tim was pretty good. Like, so, like, he's used to, like, do what I say and things will go the way they need to. So, yeah, they are very the opposite of what Batman not even is used to, but likes.
Yeah,
And Raph is like, hey, look, you're angry, I am too, but you need us. This is what it's gonna be. And he's like, yes, you're right. That was all the convincing I needed. So they make their way to Ace Chemical in their, vehicles because the Bat family's like, y'all drove here? And the Turtles were like, yeah, we didn't walk. I was like, yeah, yeah. And I wasn't sure because again, I'm not very familiar with the Turtles, so I don't know if I knew about the van
I
or
love
like
the.
how significant the van was. And that like because I'm sure to you it was obvious that they were referring to the van, but I was like, what did they drive here in?
I love the van. Like, there were two things that I always wanted as a kid. I wanted the van toy, and then there was a Turtles blimp toy as well.
Oh, okay.
They were both, legit. I never got them, but can't have everything. But
Yeah.
the Turtle van, so good. Love the Turtle van. It's one of my favorite things. I'm a big fan of vehicles in movies and like planes in movies and shows. Uh, Turtle van it's up there for me. I love vans. I love the Ninja Turtles. It's a great great vehicle in my opinion.
Makes sense. And so does the van usually have like the turret gun on top and like does it have all the features that we saw?
All sorts of stuff like that. Yeah, I've seen a couple variations, uh, but the pizza shooter, I remember that toy as a kid. I can't remember if the van had a pizza shooter in it. I want to say yes, but don't quote me on that. But I do remember like an individual pizza shooter turtle type thing. And obviously, they're not shooting pizzas in this movie. They're shooting manhole covers to disintegrate people with.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, that was a classic toy. The pizza shooter was a classic toy back in the day, and I looked it up, and there is a new pizza shooter. You can get a pizza shooter. It's not the van, but it's like some contraption. One of the turtles on it. Um, yeah, so the van was pretty classic, and this was another um, I think, small Easter egg. And I don't know if it was this. It could be a stretch, but I'm pretty sure this is less of a stretch than the NES game reference of the turtle swimming. But whenever they pop open and the bikes come out, I want to say that the bike, who rides the bike? Is that Mikey?
Uh, no, I thought it was Raph and Barbara.
Raph? Raph? I can't remember who. You might be
I
right.
can't either.
But the bike looks like Metalhead, which is a villain in the Turtles universe.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a reference to him. And you can look up Metalhead and I think you'll see it.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. So they go and fight all of these henchmen, and it is just, a bunch of chaos and mess, and it's humans and animal hybrids just getting beat down. I see what you mean. Yeah. So I assume somebody created Metalhead because Metalhead just looks like a robotic turtle.
Yeah, I actually don't remember the story for Metalhead. I'm pretty sure he's one of the bosses in Turtles in Time,
Okay.
which there are, I'm pretty sure, two references to Turtles in Time in this that we'll get to. Um, and we got to go back. There's a couple references I want to rewind to, but we can keep going and
Hey,
I'll bring them up.
okay. Um, so yeah, again, they're just it's just a bunch of fighting, and they are, making their way through all of these henchmen, and eventually they are able to make their way into Ace Chemical to, do what we came here to do. And they are in the process of like activating the machine at this point. So Shredder and Raish are like, oh, we're doing this. Like this thing is it's spinning up. It's about to, start moving toward the sky. And we get some we get some more like direct fights. So Donnie and Mikey are up on the machine trying to stop it, and Leonardo goes one-on-one with Raish. And I love that. I kind of wonder, like, is Raish's style one hand behind his back, or was he trying to say, like, I'm going to fight you with one hand tied behind my back?
I think he's definitely being cocky. He knows that he's up against a way less experienced fighter, and I love that fight. That fight was similar to the Batman Shredder fight early on. Felt brutal, felt really intense. I'm a big fan of the single sword Leo. Uh, Great fight. I loved that one, and it also leads to my second favorite quote of the movie. At the end of that fight, how does he say it? Well, Roz is winning. Leo's on the
Hmm.
ground, and Leo's like, "How?" And Ra's al Ghul is like, "I'm hundreds of years old. I've been trained by the best in history. This is a cakewalk for me." And then Leo kicks him in the nuts
Yep.
and flips it around. And then he says, I wrote this quote down. What is it? Oh, yeah. I'm 16 and I learned this from a rat.
Yep. That was a good one.
So good.
And so yeah, that kick to the nuts really turned the tide.
It did.
And Leonardo was able to defeat Raish, and Batman is fighting against Shredder. And what you don't want against Batman is a rematch. That's what you don't want.
Right. Yeah.
You take your victory and you go home. But if you get a rematch with Batman, it's not good. And I've said that for years. Like you never take a rematch with Batman because he if you win that first time, yeah, you take your victory, you go home, you celebrate, you've won the day. But yeah, like if you fight Batman again, you're done
Yeah.
every
You
time.
got you got to retire as champion
Yeah,
or you won't be champion.
or yeah, you will get stripped of your title. And so we see that Batman puts the paws on him, and Shredder tries to hit him, with that shit again. And Leonardo, I think, is the one who explains to Batman what it was, because Batman was like, I don't know what Shredder did to me, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, yeah,
And Leonardo's like, that's, ancient uh some ancient martial art skill that requires a tremendous amount of focus and skill to execute. It can be harmful to the user, just like it can be harmful to the person it's being used on. But because if you don't master it, like you could die doing it. Because we saw the Shredder, he did it, and he was kind of like hurt after he did it. Like he was tired. It took a lot out of him to do it.
yeah. And he leaves. He could have killed Batman, which we wouldn't have been surprised if he did, but I think he leaves because he knows this fight sucked and he's in a position where he can get away.
Yeah. And so I need to leave because yeah, I think you're right. It's very much a situation where like he probably could have killed Batman, but
Why risk it when you were getting kind of beat up by this?
the fact that you had to resort to that
Right.
is kind of, and yeah, like I don't know if Shredder, was at a point where he could have killed Batman just based on what that took out of him. But yeah, when Batman started bleeding from, getting hit with that, I was like, oh, you got a minimum a cracked rib.
Yeah. He's hurt.
But yeah, he's not okay. But yeah, they fight and Shredder ends up falling into the vat of chemicals. And I wondered if we were going to see anything from that, and we do in the after credit scene. But
Right.
um, when the building explodes, I think we're led to believe like, oh, he's dead.
Right.
But nobody, if there's an explosion, they're not dead. If it's an explosion, like
No
unless you,
one's dead unless you see the body.
yeah, unless you see a body or unless somebody gets crushed, like very specifically crushed, then yeah, they're not dead. So obviously, like we know he's not dead. And they go to the Batcave, celebrate with pizza, and then we see Shredder in Joker mode. Like he is, and maybe this is a bad question, but I'm like, if we know that that vat of chemicals made the Joker, why do we still have that vat of chemicals just in there open? What is that vat of chemicals for? What does it do?
It makes jokers, I guess.
Clearly, it makes Joker. That's what it does. It makes Jokers. So like I need to know what when it's not making Jokers, what is it doing? Like, is it used to like make electric cars? Is like what is that vat of chemicals for? Because it's always there.
It's
And
it's for stripping paint. I don't know.
or yeah, there's got to be some practical use for it to always be readily available in an open vat.
Right.
And yeah, for there to be, scaffolding and bridges that people can walk on over, like what, why?
Over the Joker goo,
Yeah.
just so you can fall in.
Uh-huh. That's what I like. One of the things I wonder, like when it's not making Jokers, what is it for? What are we using that to do? Because we saw it make a Joker, and so whatever it is, it's gotta be really important.
If they're just leaving the bat there, people have fallen in it before. Like that's on the safety record for that company,
Uh-huh.
and the vats are still there uncovered.
Yes. And they're still making that like that chemical is still like because if it was a vat of something else that didn't turn people into Jokers, then okay. But like I what is that for? What does that do? That's one of those questions. It's like we've had like 80 years to answer that question.
Maybe it's like an antidepressant. They take, microscopic amounts of it for antidepressants, but if you fall in it, you just go crazy.
That could be exactly what it is. Like you just take a little like inhaler shot of it and you're like calm and like it brings you to a happier place. But yeah, if you fall into it, yeah, too much of anything is bad.
But
So
it's still an open bat. They haven't learned from this company does not have a good record of learning from their mistakes. That's for sure.
Yes, and we're in Gotham, so like, of course, there's probably corruption. They probably are like, yeah, it creates bad people, so we just like won't have anybody else fall in. Then spend the money to cover the vat. Like, just put a net over it at a minimum and put a lid on it. What are you doing?
Nope. It's way
Nope.
more fun. You want to be able to see that cool glow while you're
You gotta
working.
gotta be able to see the bubbles. Want to see it cook. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, what were some other quotes or Easter eggs that you came across?
Well, while we're on the topic of the Joker Shredder, uh, the hand coming out that happens in the live action movie. I think that happens at the end of the second one when he's the super shredder. Oh,
Ooh, ooh.
yeah. The shredder takes the ooze. I'm pretty sure Shredder gets oozed in the second one, if I'm remembering this right. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure he gets oozed and he just turns into the super shredder. He's just bigger. He's muscular. He's just
Big and scary.
super terrifying. And they don't even beat him. In fact, I don't think the turtles in the live action movie ever beat Shredder. Um, but yeah, he gets the shredder knocks down all of like a pier or something, and it all falls down on him, and he's covered. And then the hand pops out, and they're like, "Oh no, he's back!" And then he dies,
Oh,
presumably. And there might have been the hand popping up in the first one too at the end. I can't remember, um, but yeah, that was I'm pretty sure a reference to that. And something I was thinking of actually while you were talking about uh, you don't want a rematch with Batman. Batman does lose a lot of the fights like round one. And I think maybe that's something the Turtles kind of share. The Turtles lose a lot and
okay.
then they come back and they they kick ass. But in the original live action movie, the Turtles lose to Shredder, which is maybe another indication of like why the Turtles lose to Batman. Batman's at a certain point
On
look,
par with Shredder.
yeah, he looks like he's going to beat him at a certain point. And in the live action movies, the Turtles could not beat Shredder. Splinter had to come and finish the job.
Okay,
So I think they share that a little bit. Batman and the Turtles.
that makes
That's
sense.
interesting. But
And so, with Super Shredder, so he's just bigger, faster, stronger, meaner.
yeah,
But so is Shredder just a human?
yeah, he's just a human.
Okay. That's what I assumed, but I never knew because his face is mostly covered.
Yeah, he's just a guy, and at least in the live action movies, I believe the story is he's in Japan, and he's buddies with Splinter's like sensei, Splinter's owner, because he's a rat,
Yeah.
and they there's some sort of like a feud with like a girl. I think it's one of the like Splinter loves the girl or something like that, and like Splinter's master loves the girl. Shredder loves the girl. Splinter's master loves the girl. Something happens. She dies. There's a fight. Shredder kills Splinter's master, I'm pretty sure. And that's when Splinter jumps out as a rat, claws his face up. That's how he gets the scars, I'm pretty sure, in that version of the story.
Oh, so he wasn't even like oozed yet. He was just a rat.
Now, he's just a rat who the the fighting that he saw. So that's how he learns how to fight. He learns it as a rat in a cage.
Okay.
Great
And
little
so,
scene of like an a puppet rat doing moves.
so were Splinter and the Turtles oozed at the same time?
Yes, in the live action movie, they're oozed at the same time.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure that in the newest Turtles movie, they were oozed at the same time too.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I
I've
think
only
they were.
I've only really seen that one once. I guess I kind of watched it a second time, but I was doing stuff on the side. But I love Splinter in that movie.
Because he's a dad.
He's just a dad.
Yeah.
Great dad vibes.
Yes. I love it.
um,
Okay.
yeah. So okay. So let's look at some of these references. I wrote down a bunch of them. Um, but if you go all the way back, I think really the first one is one of Penguin's villains is wearing the Bebop sunglasses from Bebop and Rocksteady.
Okay.
Uh, that's the first thing. I was like, wait, is this supposed to be Bebop or something? But no, I think it's just a reference because he's not in this. But that was fun. Um, the fight with Batman, Raphael loses his sai, one of his sais, to Batman. And I believe Batman just takes it and he gives it
Yeah, he
back to him.
does.
That happens in the live action movie. Raph loses his sai. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a reoccurring thing that they've done more than just in the live action movie, but that's one of the first things that happens. Raph loses his sai. He's really mad about it. So I thought that was a fun little reference. What else was there? What else was there? There were some Batman ones that I don't think we talked about yet. Uh, the Bane back breaking reference.
Yes, that was funny.
That was so funny. Great
And I was
reference.
like that because I actually wrote in my notes, like, I guess because they're mutant Ninja Turtles is why their shells are pretty serious, but Bane is probably strong enough to crack the turtle shell. But
You'd think.
also, I don't know how strong the turtle shells are, but I know how strong Bane is. And if he was on Chemical X, then yeah, I'm sure that like he would have ruined a regular Turtles day. But for the sake of comedy, I like that that's how that went.
Yeah, same. That one cracked me up. Um, there's actually a really subtle reference. I'm pretty sure. This is another one of those where it's like, is this a reference? And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a reference. Um, you go all the way back to the intro of Shredder. When Shredder jumps down, do you remember how it goes like weird slow motion? Like he's almost like floating into the scene.
Yes.
That's how he jumps into the scene at the end of the movie in the original live action movie.
Okay.
And it's just, kind of strange, but that's like how they're introducing the big bad. And I'm pretty sure they were directly referencing that in that spot.
Okay. I like it.
What else do we got? We've talked about a lot of them. Um, oh, the Turtles in Time references. Oh man, did you ever play that game?
I did not.
So it's like a Streets of Rage type game, and there were a couple of common moves that you could pull. There was the general just like kicking ass moves, but then all the turtles could grab a Foot Clan person and smash them side to side. They would like just grab them by the arm and like swing them over their head, smash on the front, smash on the back, smash on the front, smash on the back. You just do it the whole game long. There's a scene in that final fight where I think it's Raph is in the back and he's doing that to a guy.
I do remember seeing him do that to somebody. And I assumed that because of course I thought of whenever in Avengers, whenever Hulk does that to Loki. Like that's what came to mind for me in that moment. But yes, I do remember seeing Raph do that to someone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a straight reference to that game. And then this second watch through, I noticed another one. And there is a part where I think Mikey throws a Foot Clan dude or a um
League of Shadows.
League of Shadows, dude, straight into the screen. And that was another thing that you could do. You're like beating him up and then you swing him into the screen. And there's like a boss fight where you deliberately have to do that to like crack the screen. So it's a very memorable move. And
Okay.
100% that had to have been a reference to that. Both of these, I'm very confident of these references. Um, Michelangelo, when they're up on the device that's about to spray the ooze, Joker ooze everywhere. He's like, I don't know how to do the computers. I'm the party dude. That's straight up a reference to the original cartoon. It's like they're I can't. How does the song go? Um, they're like the song is like saying what like each turtle is all about, and it's like Michelangelo is a party dude. Straight reference to that for sure.
Okay. I do like that whenever he was in the Batmobile, he got to push the buttons.
Got to push the buttons. That was
Like
fun.
I enjoyed that happened because I knew that he was going to. Because whenever Batman said "Don't touch anything," I was like, the whole reason Mikey's in the car is to push buttons. Like that's what's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And so yeah, the fact that he got to and he like pushed all the buttons. Mikey, he heard the assignment.
I liked that design of the inside of that Batmobile. There's so much going on there. It's like, a airplane cockpit.
Yes.
I
And
like.
sometimes, the movie that we just reviewed, um, sometimes the Batmobile turns into other things. So sometimes the Batmobile will turn into the Batplane, or will turn into the Batcycle, or will turn into like a bat suit. And so, yeah, like all that stuff being in the Batmobile, depending on which version of it, that tracks.
Yeah.
And sometimes the Batmobile only has one seat in it. I feel like only recently have they added, like a passenger seat and then sometimes a back seat.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's a good design. I like this one.
I agree. So, Ryan, scale of 1 to 10, what are you thinking?
Whew. Okay. It's so hard with a movie like this because, as I've said a couple of times now, it's just a silly movie. And so if you embrace the silliness, if you embrace that the movie knows that it's silly, can you really take off stars for that? Can you take away points for that? I don't know. I kind of feel like I'd almost have to give this one like a 9 out of 10 for really sticking to what it was supposed to be, giving really good fan service, sticking to the characters pretty strongly. Like for me, this is a probably a 9 out of 10 for me. I didn't have a lot of complaints. The ooze thing I think was like kind of weird, threw me off a little bit, but I can look past it because the movie doesn't try and pretend to not be that kind of movie.
Okay. So I can agree. I like a movie that knows what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that because I'm not a Turtles fan, it didn't hit me the same way.
Sure. Yeah.
And I still had a great time. I am gonna give this like a 7.5.
I think that's a very fair score for this.
Yeah, like I enjoyed it. It was a very fun movie,
Yes,
and
very
it
fun.
is something I would watch again. And it's something that, generally speaking, a lot of the stuff in it made sense. Like there were some things that were like, okay, we just gotta, the movie's gotta happen, so we're just not gonna think about that. But
Right. Yeah, we're just gonna make it. We're just gonna make it happen. And a lot of times those things bother me in movies.
same. Like a lot of times when I say, but the movie's gotta happen, like I'm not happy about what went down.
Same, same. This is a rare situation where I'm okay with it. I know what
Same.
this movie is. I was
Yeah.
expecting it to do more of this, to be honest.
I agree. Like it made a lot more sense than it actually like had to. Like I think there was a lot of effort put into making it make sense.
Yeah,
And
honestly, for what it was. Yeah.
yeah, like I would not have expected this movie to be like, oh, okay. I see how we got in this. Like that was a good, yeah. Like it was. I think it was well done. And again, I'm not super familiar with the turtles, but based on what I've seen, I enjoyed the characterization of each turtle. Um, I think that, Mikey's party dude energy was turned up a little bit,
A
but
little bit. I think that I would have been happier if that was some of those were very silly. And I felt like that was like really leaning towards like the Mikey that's made for kids.
yes. And again, it made sense. And I figure that was the Mikey they leaned on because they anticipated older fans of Turtles when they were children being the people to watch this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things that, shout out to Brandon, one of the things that he always mentions is he loves the fact that the Turtles are always around. Like they never disappear. There's always some version or some form of Turtles going on because one of the issues that, some IPs have is that they will disappear for like 10 years at a time and then try to come back but the
Mhm.
Turtles there's always something. Like Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, and Transformers, like they almost always have something happening so that they are in the rotation for the kids that are coming up as well as the adults who've always loved it.
That's true. Yeah. There's always a new show. Very Power Rangers, like for sure.
So,
I've
yeah.
heard this newest Nickelodeon Turtle show is really good.
I honestly haven't heard very many like, oh, that Turtles thing was trash or it was terrible. Like I don't hear very negative things about Turtles things often. So I that leads me to believe the Turtles is a pretty stable franchise that does well and executes when it needs to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I want
cool.
to watch it. I want to watch it. I want to watch this revived kind of a spark of the Turtles love for me. And I kind of want to dig into it some more, expand
Excellent.
my Turtles horizons.
I love that. I love that. Anything else on the movie?
There's one more really niche reference that I liked. And
Okay.
I was like, I swear this is from the movie. And I went and I looked in on YouTube and I found it. But there's a scene where they're eating the pizza and Alfred is like, "Can I get you guys some napkins?" And they're like, "What for?" Straight up, that line directly taken from the second live action Turtles movie. April says it to them.
Okay.
Pretty good little reference. I loved it.
All right. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I had a good time, and the newest Turtles movie that came out, if there's a sequel to that one, I will be locked in because again,
Oh,
that movie, the Seth Rogen one, it was really good to me.
100%. I can't wait. I know for sure there's no way we don't get a second one on that. It did so well. I can't wait for that.
Okay. All right. In the next episode, we will be discussing Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons. So until then, salutations.